Given its nature as a puzzle mystery game, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is best experienced while having no prior knowledge of its content. But if you are curious to know if the game is worth your time, should you enjoy multi-layered escape room puzzles entangled in a surreal mystery narrative, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes might just be the right thing for you.
The truth will begin to surface from here.
It is still advised to take that with a grain of salt, of course, as recommending a puzzle game to a general audience is a difficult endeavor. For example, consider Ghost Trick and The Outer Wilds. Both amazing puzzle games by their own right, but they couldn't be any more different, and someone who might enjoy one isn't necessarily guaranteed to like the other. As for the bigger contention point in my claim, I should clarify the escape room part. It's not that you are forced under a stressful time limit, but the variety on the types of puzzles that it offers is similar to those associated with that sort of activity. As such, Lorelei takes place in an old hotel where you must find the truth by solving your way through carefully laid out puzzles that can be contained to themselves or be a part to something bigger. They can take a variety of forms, from logical to mechanical, while also borrowing from concepts like astrology, numerology, and every other esoteric idea that is often interconnected in this sort of pseudoscience. This loops back around to how the puzzles are integrated into the story, as while they might initially appear unrelated, they all share the same recurring themes that are slowly revealed to be critical to the plot, culminating into a final puzzle that tests the entire breadth of knowledge that you acquired on the search for the truth. While you are given an exact number to how much of that truth you have recovered, it's not necessary to reach 100% to finish the game, so you shouldn't worry too much about that. I should note that all the necessary information for puzzle solving is contained within, and like the included manual explains, you only need some basic knowledge of real-life systems like the 24-hour clock and Roman numerals, but even then, there are documents that offer you a refresh on those topics should you ever need it. Luckily, while numbers play a crucial part in all of this, mathematics aren't extensively used besides some basic arithmetic. Otherwise, I can guarantee you that I still wouldn't have finished the game by now. But that doesn't mean the game is easy, as even the act of navigating the hotel is a puzzle itself, as there are a number of shortcut doors that can only be unlocked by solving their own respective puzzles. These are a tremendous help as you unlock further sections of the hotel, and I would know that, because as embarrassing as it is, I have to admit I couldn't open all of them, which the game didn't have a problem in reminding me every time I needed to cross to the other side of the hotel and had to take the long way around because of one small puzzle. This wasn't staged. I genuinely didn't know the answer to this one, but when I came back later to get the footage of the puzzle I had in mind, I managed to solve it on the spot. What an absolute stupid moment. This further extends to the map, which is locked behind another set of individual puzzles, which I also managed to be too stupid to solve the last one of them. No, seriously, what is the answer here? I realize that this is pointing to north, so that you can face the blueprint in the correct direction, but isn't the number supposed to be 761, or maybe 769? Whatever. In case you haven't realized by now, Lorelei really wants you to play with a notepad, and the game was built from the start with that concept in mind. This led to the controls being condensed to just a directional input and one single button, which was done specifically so you can interface with the game in its entirety while still being able to take notes, which also works as an accessibility option, as you can hold the controller with either hand. In theory, you can even use one of these bad boys, but knowing how this was originally released for the PC and the Nintendo Switch, it's clear that the developer had the comfortable nature of the Joy-Con in mind. Still, I do hope Lorelei gets ported to more platforms, as it deserves to be available to the biggest audience it can get. On the flip side, the biggest problem in Lorelei is also how it only has one button. I understand the elegance of the streamlined control scheme, I really do, But this is a puzzle game, so document fumbling and perusing is half the core of the game, and trying to navigate through several layers of menus can be bothersome when you're trying to quickly check something. Plus, to access the menu you have to interact when you're not facing anything, so a lot of times you exit a puzzle, try to turn away for a quick menu look and end up tripping into another puzzle. Which in itself is another problem, because the only way to exit out of a puzzle is failing it. Again, Lorelei really wants you to take notes and actually use them. But when you're deep in the apex of puzzle choice, things are bound to get messy, and menu shenanigans shouldn't add to the problem. All controllers nowadays have at least 2 shoulder buttons per hand reach, but I guess it might be too late to change the game systems to account for that. Even so, that was but a small detriment in an otherwise spectacular experience. A complete puzzle extravaganza wrapped in a distorted world of black and white from an era otherwise lost to time, with a clever use of the complementary Bordeaux reserved to carefully guide you towards the truth you seek. The subdued soundscape offers the appropriate somber hauntings for an old hotel, with special music tracks reserved for key moments in the story, creating a much bigger impact. There are also a few record players placed throughout that can be turned on at player's discretion, as they are used to give each area a more distinct vibe, playing a subtle tune that fades throughout while you're crossing the otherwise desolate maze of corridors. Besides being an idiot when it comes to critical thinking, I'm also ignorant when it comes to the arts, at least to enough degree that many of the actual inspirations beyond Lorelei completely flew over me. That is why it's greatly appreciated that the developer Simogo has the best website one such as myself could ask for, just completely chock-full of important information and insight into their own creations. In the age of centralized internet, a substantial web page such as this is a rare gem, so bless them for that. Otherwise I wouldn't be aware that Lorelei was largely inspired by the 1961 film Last Year at Marienbad. Both share the unreliable storytelling about the dubious relation of a man and a woman in a surreal setting of black and white. While it might not make much sense outside of the surface, the cel-shaded look with the high contrast shadows reminds me of Killer is Dead. If I had to further grasp at straws, one could also make the connection that they both share a fractured story and the protagonist with sinister eyewear, but that's it. In conclusion, yes, the game is amazing, and depending on who's asking, it's a definitive recommendation from me. But how does it rank on my half-assed list of greatest puzzle games of all time? Right about here. Definitely several notches above The Witness. That game has some great puzzles built upon a beautiful world to explore, but the sound puzzles can just fuck right off. If you played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They were the only ones that made me look up the solution, and even then I still don't get it. Should you ever play Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, remember to never give up, and that the puzzles are simpler than you might think, as the real difficulty comes from the uncertainty that you might not have all the necessary pieces. Thanks for your time, and hopefully we can meet again in the future.